Evening all. This is our new segment, Cooking with a Cunt. Now, what I'm doing today is I am making Turkish style doner kebabs. Now, what I'm going to start with is your mince. You want 500 grams of mince. Frankly, cheaper the better because you need the fat. Now, you can cook the fat out when you're cooking it. So don't worry about how high its fat content is. You need it for the flavour. But what we'll do, we'll open that. Stick it in a mixing bowl. Now remember, I've seen some other people doing recipes like this, and cross-contamination is a big thing in the kitchen when you're cooking. So ensure anything that touches raw meat is put into a good hot soapy water. I use antibacterial just in case. Dry hands. Right, now our dry mix is where we're going to start. You want a teaspoon of plain flour, which is that one. So again, don't have to be massively accurate. Now you can, after you've tried this recipe once, by all means adjust it for taste. But right, and a teaspoon of dried oregano. Which of course isn't going to come out now. Right, so teaspoon of dried oregano, or if you're American, oregano. Half a teaspoon of dried Italian herbs. So again, over here. Again, most of this, even though these are in these little containers, I actually buy them in bulk because I do a fair bit of cooking. Okay, so half a teaspoon of your Italian. Now it says garlic powder. I don't have garlic powder, but I have garlic granules. I'm assuming it's the same. Again, half a teaspoon. So it's half a teaspoon of your garlic granules. Half a teaspoon of onion granules or onion powder. Half a teaspoon of salt. Yes, it sounds like a lot, but it is kind of necessary for the flavour again. This is still a much healthier option than what you would get at the takeaway van. Okay, now we're down to the quarters. We want a quarter teaspoon of ground black pepper. Now I'm going to go slightly over the quarter teaspoon because I do like a bit of heat to it. And then last but not least, again, is a quarter teaspoon of good cayenne pepper. And again, I will personally use a little bit extra for my taste. So there we have it. That's all your dry ingredients in there. I'll just give that a little rub. Now this should give you your authentic Turkish style. So your takeaway. There are different versions, but this should be your authentic one. So we put that in there. Now we've got our cheap lamb in here. Now the trick with the lamb is to knead this stuff in, but what you have to do is you have to really mash this lamb up. So what you actually end up with is, it's going to sound revolting, but it looks more like a pink paste. Whereas at the moment, as you can see, it's quite defined with the meat and the fat. What you want to try and do is get that down to a point but it doesn't look like that anymore. So it literally looks more like a pink paste. Again, it helps with the cooking. If you try and do it with it when it looks like this, it won't really work. I'm going to use I've got a mixer here with dough hook attachments. So what I'm going to do is use those, and that should actually give me a pretty good result. So I'll just plug that in. And hit it. So you want to try and blend all this up so it ends up as a uniform colour. So I'm not going to talk while I do this because you won't hear me. Yes, that works fine. Right, let me just go and grab a spoon. So what I want to start to do is gradually add my dry mix as well while this is mixing. Now, while that does work rather well, sometimes you just got to get your hands squishy. Now, obviously I wash my hands. But as I said, you've got to try and get as much of that uniform colouring in it. It will help with the final product. Then I'm using these paper loaf moulds because frankly it's just going to be easier. Now I would be using a loaf tin, but mine seems to have gone missing. I'm going to try and get it quite a nice shape. It should be, as you can see, it's not too wet. Now, just leave that to rest. I'll see. Hands a good wash. And then preheat your oven to 180 degrees centigrade or gas mark 4 if you're old, and cook it for about an hour 20 minutes. What you can do is halfway through the cooking time is actually take it out, lose one of these and turn it over to brown the other side. So what we'll do is we'll do that, and then I'll come back at the halfway stage and show you how we're getting along. And we're back. Now, it's now been in for 40 minutes. So this is the point where we take it out. Burn our hands. There we go. Looking very good. Now, what the plan was, put this one of these down just to protect it. Trouble with having marble, well, granite sides is very easy to give something a bit of a shock temperature wise and break it. So let's put that on there. Now what we do, there's quite a bit of fat in there, so what we'll do is we'll take that one out of there. Like I said, that's why it doesn't matter about the fat content of the original lamb. We'll flip him over. And then we'll put him back in for another 40 minutes. But already that's smelling really nice. So let's put that back in the oven. And we'll be back in 40 minutes. There you go, see. It does a really good job of catching all that fat, which you don't want. I mean, I'm not saying that, I mean, if you've ever got a kebab from the takeaway and then left it to cool down, you see all that congealed fat on it, and no. So this is a bit more healthy. I will do something on the next cycle which will explain a better way to get some more of the fat out, and what we will need to do that is some skewers. So we shall, oh, that one's broken. So we shall come back to that. Right, and we're back. Now the thing has, the kebab meat has another 20 minutes left to cook. But what I want to do is get as much of the fat out as possible. So I'm going to do this, take this here. This out here for a minute. Now I've got some tissue paper in the bottom here. What I'm going to do is take two of these skewers and just push them clean through the centre of that. Because obviously the idea is to get that so it's not lead in the bottom of the tray. So let's just do this a minute. So you can see that is now suspended above the cooking. So for the last 20 minutes I'm going to put this in so it's suspended basically in mid-air, which means that all the fat can run off it. There we go. Should give it a good all-round browning, and again, you know, all that fat from earlier is all coming out quite nicely, so we don't really want it. The thing with fat, with meat, a lot of people go for the leaner cuts, and you can buy meat with virtually no fat in it, however it will lack flavour, and there's no reason why you can't cook high fat meat in a way that actually removes most of the fat from the meat, and also be practical, don't have it every day, you know, but this is still a lot more healthy than anything you will get from a kebab bun. So we'll come back once we are up to speed on all this. Right, that's now had its extra 20 minutes, so we shall remove it from the oven. Now, as you can see, that's quite a lot of fat has come out of that now, even with the tissue paper soaking it up. Nice crispy crust on there. Let's just check the other side again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to leave that to rest for 10 minutes, then come back to it and then slice it up as thinly as possible. But oh, sizzle. And even with the cooking process of actually cooking it down, we've not lost much meat there. That still is pretty much the same size it was when it went in. So what I'll do is I'll leave that now for 10 minutes and then we'll come back to it. Okay, that's now been resting for 10 minutes. Now the trick next is to thinly slice it. Now you can do this by hand, but obviously I have this rather wonderful machine here, so I'm going to use this. So we'll just place it into there and turn it on. And we're getting some very nice little slices there, which I'm just going to place onto a baking tray. Now the reason why I place it on a baking tray is I actually want to brown it off in the oven individually. It's cooked all the way through, it's fine as it is, but I kind of like it browned off a bit, you know. It's a personal choice. So, but this, so our 500 gram of lamb now looks like this, which is a fairly respectable amount, to be honest. I'm certainly quite happy with that. The little bits. Right, so I shall stop the video because I've now got some clearing up to do, and then we shall be back. I mean, you can cut it by hand, but why make life hard when you've got a machine? Right, I've put it onto a different baking tray now, just because there was that much of it. Now, what you can do at this stage is simple. You can either allow this to cool, section it up if you're on your own into smaller portions, freeze it, and then it's ready to go. Or what I'm going to do is pop this back in the oven once I make my salad, because 10 minutes in the oven should just darken this up and bring it together just in time. But there you go. So that is let's just check something a minute. Right, I have another pan, same size. Yeah, so sort of roughly. Okay. 333. So probably lost about 100 grams just in fat alone. It's very dry tasting, which is ideal, because of obviously either garlic mayonnaise, chili sauce, or whatever else you want to put with it. But certainly, again, much healthier than anything you're going to buy from a van. And obviously, if you like it with mint, then you can either add mint in with the dry, or like a mint sauce with it,